To help break all of this down, we're joined now by Ambassador John Herbst, former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. Ambassador, great to have you back on the show. The two sides couldn't even agree today on what city in Turkey in which to meet. The Ukrainians were in Ankara, the Russians were in Istanbul. They spent most of the day arguing about whether even to meet at all.
Look, focusing on these talks is focusing on the wrong thing. What happened is this. Zelensky had reached agreement with 4 major European leaders to put sanctions on Russia this past Monday if Russia did not agree to a general ceasefire. They thought they had Trump's agreement with this. They called him on Sunday. Putin, watching this, decided he needed to prevent any momentum towards sanctions. So he proposed direct talks, and people thought he meant Putin Zelensky. Once Zelensky agreed, because Trump urged him to agree, Putin said, well, I'm not going. So Putin succeeded in taking pressure off him with the threat of sanctions by proposing direct talks, which he then undermined. And he was aided in this by President Trump for reasons I don't quite understand.
Zelensky today called Putin unserious and said clearly the Russians have no interest at all in any kind of ceasefire.
Well, Zelensky is half right. Russians have no influence in a ceasefire, but Putin is deadly serious. He wants to conquer a lot more of Ukraine. He does not want a ceasefire, which is why he's blocking President Trump's good faith efforts to forge a compromise.
So why didn't Europe, the European countries who threatened more sanctions this past Monday if there was no ceasefire, why didn't they impose those sanctions that they threatened?
Well, I think they hoped that when President Trump said, he's skeptical that Putin wants to make a deal, but let's see how these talks turn out, that President Trump would see this through, and when he saw that Putin was playing games, he might be amenable to sanctions. It hasn't turned out that way. Now we're hearing President Trump and Secretary of State Rubio saying the only way you get a breakthrough is if Trump and Putin meet. Now that's true, but only if Trump is prepared to lower the boom on Putin for obstructing peace.
Well, he's threatened many things. He had also threatened to impose more sanctions, and he hasn't. Putin has now refused to meet, at least today, with Zelensky. He refused to the 30-day ceasefire that Trump demanded of both sides. Ukraine agreed. Putin even refused to abide by his own Easter ceasefire. He broke it.
Look, it's pretty simple. With one not very well commented on, but important exception, the Trump administration has coddled the aggressor, the party that refuses to make peace. But it is true that 2 weeks ago, along with the mineral deal that was signed with Ukraine, the Trump administration made 2 decisions allowing new American weapons to flow to Ukraine. That was an important step forward and a warning to Putin. But since then, we've now seen this odd play by Trump, giving Putin excuse to block the sanctions discussed last weekend, and also to justify not attending talks with Zelensky.
Do you think that by giving, we heard Secretary of State Marco Rubio say the only way we're going to get a ceasefire deal here is for Trump and Putin to sit down personally, the 2 men. Is that in some ways rewarding Putin with a meeting with President Trump?
Well, a meeting which achieves nothing is kind of a reward for Putin. He's still considered an international war criminal with good reason, so his stature is quite tarnished. But here's the point. A meeting makes sense if Trump is going to deliver a strong message. But if he just meets and nothing happens, then that's a gift to Putin. But President Trump could send that strong message without a meeting, but if he'd like to do it in a meeting, I have no problems with that. The key is that strong message.
It's worth noting, by the way, that Putin continues to demand that Zelensky be out, that basically a Russian puppet be in to lead Ukraine, that Ukraine be demilitarized, that Ukraine be far removed from ever having a chance at joining NATO, which has been clear, by the way, for years now. But he's basically asking for Ukraine to be nothing more than a Russian satellite.
That's correct. He has not hidden his contempt for the 2 things that President Trump and his team were asking from Russia. A, to allow European troops to deploy to deter future Russian aggression. B, to allow Western forces to send major arms to Ukraine. Putin wants a demilitarized Ukraine, which he can push around. He wants to be able to control the future of that country, which is obviously for Ukraine not to be dependent.
Yeah.
And that's very dangerous, including for the United States.
Dangerous for all of the European continent in many ways. Ambassador John Herbst, thanks so much. Great to have you on.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.